Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to my review of Brooklyn 45.
No! You're not gonna drag us into the dark with you.
This madness is over. This war is over!
Says who?
So, Brooklyn 45 is the latest addition to Shudder's original catalog. If you don't know anything about the flick, the basic synopsis is best friends since childhood, five military veterans gather to support their troubled host, and the metaphorical ghosts of their past become all too literal. And yeah, I didn't know much about this film. This was something that, I had seen some Twitter posts about it, some early buzz about it. I never watched the trailer, but it was something that I knew was going to be coming out. So when I was getting off work on Friday, we had the Leprechaun news. I did notice a few reviews pop up for Brooklyn 45, and I figured, if I get some time this weekend, I will check it out. And like I said, I checked it out. And what do I think of it? Well, I actually thought this was pretty darn good. I was thoroughly surprised by a few elements of this, and I'm excited to talk about it. So to start things off, I want to give some praise to the director, Ted Gagan, who honestly had a really strong vision for this film. You can tell just from the opening frames that he wanted to really capture something very classical, very old-timey, very much in the setting of the film. Like I said, this takes place in 1945, hence the name. And, it is one of those things where I thought that he captured the tone very well. There's a switching of aspect ratios, which I also thought was a really nice touch from when characters are inside and outside of a building. And, I really appreciate little touches like that. And, I just got to say, for the story that he tells here, I was very concerned watching this, to be honest. I was very like, oh, I don't really know if this is going to be for me. Again, I hadn't seen the trailer. But, as it started, I thought, okay, this is probably going to be very slow. But no, this movie is honestly very entertaining. I got to say that the biggest thing that I can say relating to this, in the sense of like what I could say this film is kind of like 12 Angry Men meets Evil Dead. It's very interesting. And I think that it doesn't go as hard as Evil Dead does, except in a couple of sequences, but it is very, very cool. And I thought that as him behind the camera and like executing this vision, he did a fantastic job. And when you compare a film to something like 12 Angry Men, you got to talk about the cast. And I got to say, I really enjoyed Jeremy Holm. I thought that his character had a lot of depth. He does carry a lot of weight as far as just like, the events that they do discuss in the film and what his past is. And he sold that all very beautifully. I think the whole cast does a really great job here. Ezra Buzzington is also a lot of fun in this one. And him and Jeremy Holm, they have a lot of sequences going back and forth. This film is very dialogue heavy, as you'd expect. And it is one of those things where they just do a really fantastic job of not letting it get stale, not letting any like really dead air or anything hit you. You just kind of are following this story as it unravels and as these, semi paranormal events, I want to say, start to take place. They're very subtle, but I'll get there in a minute. As for the rest of the cast, I thought they all did a fantastic job. Larry Fazden is somebody who I know from a couple of his directorial efforts. He plays a really interesting character here, and he has one of the most standout effect sequences in the entire film that will literally have your jaw on the floor. I did not expect that. So when it comes down to the paranormal aspect of this film, I thought it was done really well. I thought that it was very subtle for the most part. There is kind of a big climactic crescendo in the sense of the paranormal stuff. There is one sequence that I thought was a tad rough. It is one of those things where I understand there's a budget limitation here and they could do only what they could. I thought it was executed well for what it was, but I do understand if it kind of takes people out a little bit because it does kind of have that uncanny valley approach. It just doesn't feel like it's embedded into the actual film very well. I can't really fault them, though. Like I said, this is a smaller budget film, and they are working with what they have. And I think that they did a strong job of pulling it off. But I would not be giving an honest review if I didn't say that it pulled me out just a tad. And I got to say, overall, while I'm here, the CGI in this film is kind of, again, not up to snuff. It's definitely one of those things where you could tell that it was, composited, and I don't know if it was a style approach or if it was supposed to match with the kind of it being a little bit more old timey, but it just was one of those things again that kind of pulled me out of the film. But on the flip side of that, the practical effects are absolutely stunning. I love the practical approach that they took here. I wish they could have done more with it. I understand with the material, you can only go so far, but Jesus, some of these effects are absolutely mind-blowing. And you will not be disappointed when you see that that final sequence and all these practical effects come on screen. It is awesome. And really, my last gripe with this film is going to be that it is a bit of an abrupt ending. I think thematically it works. It just kind of brings our characters to a meaningful end. But I could have taken maybe another 10-15 minutes of something maybe a little bit more extravagant on the tail end there to kind of get us over that point, because you kind of reach this point where the climax happens. It's shocking. It brings you in. You've been following these characters. You're in with all the dialogue, all the drama, and then it all just happens. And that's the best way I can put it without spoiling anything. And then you're just like, wow, that was insane. I love that. And then it just kind of glides right out. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, I definitely, I've seen worse, but I thought that was pretty disappointing. So overall, I got to say, I really enjoyed Brooklyn 45. Do I have a couple of gripes? Yeah. But, it's one of those things where, again, paranormal movies for me are pretty hit or miss. But overall, I got to say, this is a pretty big hit on my book. This was something that I was not expecting to really enjoy this much. And I think that it's definitely worth checking out if you have a Shudder subscription already. If not, you should probably get one, because if this is the kind of content that they're going to be putting out soon, I really think that this is something special. Again, there is eyes of detail put on this project from the director. And from a writing aspect, the dialogue, like I said, it's very 12 Angry Men-esque, and it's very engaging. You get to know all these characters very intimately and put them in these really intense situations. And overall, it's great. Like, I enjoyed it very much. Again, some of the CGI is questionable, and the ending is a bit of a rocky kind of, okay, again, I kind of want a little more from it, but I can't sit here and say that this is not worth checking out. It actually is something I would say definitely make time to see. I think that this is going to pop up on a few people's best of the year when it comes to horror lists, because again, it's just so much more of an artistic and serious approach to material like this. And again, they just put so much detail in here, and they really commit to the bit as far as setting it in that 1945 setting, and they do a bang up job with it. So I got to give high praise to Brooklyn 45. This is definitely something that I'll watch again. And maybe the ending will be a little bit more, satisfying for me. It might grow on me as time goes on. But like I said, for that first viewing, not knowing anything about it, it was a little bit of a, okay. But yeah, overall, very happy with this flick. So that's going to wrap up my review for Brooklyn 45. Thank you guys for checking this out. As always, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We are posting horror-related content on a damn near weekly basis. And we got a lot of great stuff coming up for you guys. A lot of fun things, a lot of early reviews coming to you pretty soon here, as well as stuff we already have up on the channel. We just launched our second channel by admission only with our Flash review, which you can also find on this channel where we kind of announce the whole thing. But yeah, other than that, we got a lot of great stuff. We just talked about the new Leprechaun news, and we got a new podcast coming on the way. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.